How are you? I want this session to be interactive. I know थोड़ा जल्दी है सुबह में, पर फिर भी अगर एक दो भी अगर रिस्पॉन्ड करेंगे, I would feel better.
So class, you can unmute yourself also. Permission granted hai, and you can interact with your senior. So before moving forward, so Raj, give your introduction first and then interact with
Yes,
the
sir,
class.
sure. Okay. Hi everyone. I'm Basavraj and I'm a 23 graduate from Thapar from ECE, and I've been working with Rana sir since my sophomore year, and we have worked on multiple research papers as well as side projects, which you can find on my GitHub profile as well as on my LinkedIn. So you can have a look around them. My expertise mostly lies in Gen AI because last 2 years I have been professionally working in generative AI field. Before that, with Rana, so I was working on NLP and computer vision. So yeah, that's a short brief about myself. So how is everyone? Are they excited for this session or still sleepy? Okay, I see Mehak. I see Shivam. Okay. What about others? Shrishti as well. See, I would really appreciate if everyone is participating. I won't ask you to turn on your camera or speak out of turn. So if you want, if you have any queries, if you have any doubts, you can surely just unmute yourself and stop me right then and there when I'm explaining or after I complete explaining. So we can go ahead like that. So I guess everyone has got this GitHub link. If not yet, uh, just let me know. I'm pasting this in the chat as well. Once you have opened this link, I would like everyone to open this Google Colab notebook link. So just keep that open, and once you open that, you'll see a notebook like this. And I want you all to create a copy for yourself by clicking on this button. It's called Save Copy in a Drive. That will make a copy of this notebook in your Google Drive as well. And I want you to make edits in your own copy. The link I have shared is just viewable, so you won't be able to edit this Google Notebook. If you have done that, just type yes in the chat. Okay, I'll move ahead. So the agenda for today's session is discussing more about LLMs and the all hype about around about the prompt engineering stuff. So, can anyone tell me what they feel about prompt engineering, what it is, if anyone would voluntarily like to speak up about prompt engineering, if they think that they have done prompt engineering, in what way have they done? I mean, I'm sure everyone has done it, but if just someone could speak how they use it in everyday lives, that would be great. I don't want to take names, so I would really love some participation here. Okay, I see giving valid explained prompt to a LLM. Srishti, you can speak, I think. Yes, Srishti, go ahead. You are not audible if you're speaking, Srishti. Sure, no worries. Just type your response in the chat and just stay active. So, what you see here right now is one of the presentations website. It's called presentations.ai, and 95% of the PPT has been generated by using a prompt. I've made edits on top of that, and I had to provide some context to build this whole presentation. So, whatever you're going to see throughout the session, it has been done through using prompts. And after that, I have verified it so that the accuracy stays intact about the information that is generating. So basically, prompt engineering is something that you provide as an input to these latest Gen AI models, and they give you a desired output as you wish. So let's begin with the presentation. So the whole idea behind the uh, large language models is like they act as predictors. So whatever input you're typing, it always tries to predict what would be the next token, and this is done uh, after training it on tons and tons of data and recognizing patterns from it, and it predicts the most likely word that's going to come after that. And we use it in many use cases, ranging from generating code, uh, creating presentations like this one, and building chatbots, some kind of agents. So there are wide variety of use cases when it comes to large language models. So before just diving into the whole large language models, we have to see like how it all started. So a brief idea about how this whole journey happens is that about a decade ago, we had something called sequence to sequence models. Uh, have you ever heard about that? If you have heard about sequence to sequence models, just type yes in the chat. But I'll give you a little idea about what it is. And I hope that you have also come across RNNs. So, okay,
Yes, brother, I have listened about that,
okay,
and
Akshay.
I have been through that. I have used that.
Okay. So the example that you see here on the screen right now, it's like a translation example in which there is a French sentence and you can convert it into any language. So each word here is like a token. It represents a token. And there is an RNN block which takes this single token as the input and generates uh, spits out a embedding output which we call a hidden state, and that stores the context for the previous single token input, and then it's passed to the next word, and then again you repeat it and keep on repeating it until the whole input sentence is processed, and then you get one single vector which is like a fixed length vector, and it is the condensed representation of the whole sentence, which is like uh, carrying the whole meaning and the context of it. And it has a fixed size. Once it goes through the encoder stage, so this is the encoder block, which actually generates one single vector that has the whole representation of the sentence. So using this representation, we pass it into the decoder block. And what decoder block is doing is that it is trying to predict the next output token using this single fixed vector, that what is the most likely next word, and this will spit out the whatever translation uh, there would be, like je suis étudiant, like I'm a student. That would be the translation for this. And it is happening single token at a time for each step. So if you see, the limitation here is like it has a information bottleneck. As you're seeing, all the tokens are being condensed into just a single vector. So there might be some more information in between the tokens. And if you know, in language translation, uh, not every time the words are in sequence. For some language, uh, the articles come first, then the adjectives, and then the adverbs, or it's a switch between the these parts of phrases. So to take care of that, we had the next solution for this. So the solution for this was nothing else but we have transformer models. So for transformer models, let me show you a picture. Yeah. So there was something called attention that was introduced to solve this problem. What happens in attention is that for each word, each token, there is a representation, this hidden state. So for every word, there will be a vector representation, and each vector representation is multiplied by a certain weight. That certain weight basically controls how important this each token is and how much attention should be paid to the each token. So in that way, it is able to identify which token comes first and which token comes second and which token comes third. And also in transformers, what happens is that this is a single sequence. You could pass multiple sequences parallelly. So you could train larger data sets in a shorter amount of time. So that's how it started solving the problems. What was a fixed input length vector is now having uh, a richer representation of what the sentence actually means. And I would also like you all to explore what attention mechanism is. I'm just giving you a brief idea. What happens here is that each token has a hidden state vector and it gets multiplied to certain weights, which then signify the importance of each tokens. And based on the importance of each tokens, it is passed into the decoding stage and you get the output from the model. So these were better because these can train parallelly multiple sequences, and these have a richer representation of the original input sentence. So can anyone tell me if you know like what Chat GPT design is based on? If it's a encoder based model, if it's just a decoder only based model, or you have no clue about it, what encoder and decoders are. Okay, Aryan is asking what a hidden state is. So uh, Aryan, hidden state is like a numerical vector, which is if you have gone through neural networks, for each word, when you are passing it through a layer, you get a output in form of a fixed length vector. So it has numerical numberings, which are like a okay. Mrinal will come to encoder and decoder, but I'm explaining what hidden state is here. So hidden state is like a representation of each token with uh, random values of numerical representation of that token. So each token, when you train the models, uh, there are certain weights assigned at each layer, and they keep getting updated. So after those weights getting updated, the model keeps getting better and better. So this is part of the training phase. Aryan, I hope you get a better idea on what a hidden state is here. Okay, so encoder and decoder in a simple language. Encoder is nothing but it takes a certain input and converts separate uh, into a numerical representation of a vector. So it's taking the whole input sentence and it's generating a encoded output of it. So encoded, you can think about it like an encryption, but in a numerical format, which is like a probability of words in numbers. So that's the encoder part. And decoder is nothing but that takes the output from the input, that is our encoded vector, and using that encoded vector, it gets decoded into a certain token. So whatever that encrypted number was, that will get converted back into the English language or whatever decryption token it is. So that's how encoder and decoder work in simple language. Renil, I hope you get what encoder and decoder was. If you are clear about that, okay. All right, Renil. So this was a short idea about what attention models are, and I would like you to explore more about these attention models because these are the foundation of the transformer models that are being used in today's data. And coming back to the question that what the current models are based on, anyone has an answer for it? If it's a encoder and decoder model or it's just a decoder only model, has anyone even heard about it? Sukanya, if you want to say something. Okay, I see no response. So let me tell you, ChatGPT is a decoder only model. So it does not have this encoding stage. So what ChatGPT does is that with this decoder only block, it has something called self attention, masked self attention. So whatever you're seeing right here in the input till this part, that is happening inside the decoder stage itself. And based on the tons of data that has been text data that it has been trained on, it gets those masked weights, and from there it keeps decoding the next output predicted token. So that's how, if you're providing it a passage, it starts thinking about the next words based on those attention weights of that vector representation. I know it sounds a bit scary, but the more you'll dive deeper in the foundations of it, you'll get to understand what it is exactly. So this is how it was solving the information bottleneck. But the only caveat here is that it has a fixed context length window. Like there are a fixed number of tokens that you can pass through a large language model, and everyone might have run into token limit issues if they've ever used the APIs for these models. If not, we'll be using in the hands-on session, and you'll know what tokens are over there. Okay, we saw that this is like a whole brief overview of what I just discussed. It has a faster training process, it has a fixed context window, and the attention mechanism was introduced to help it. Okay, so how this whole story kept on increasing is that OpenAI introduced the decoder only models GPT-2, GPT-3, GPT-4, and we have O3, O4. I mean, there are multiple models now that are there. How these models have changed the whole paradigm is that first we used to have these machine learning models which had this fixed set of data, and you were doing a supervised training. So based on that data set, you could have the output that it has to produce, and it is limited to that certain task. So if you are training a model for classification, it used to do it used to get the output for classification. And if you are training it for regression, you would get the output for regression. Similarly, whatever different types of models were there, they could just do the certain task that they were capable of doing. How GPT changed is that by introducing prompt prompt tuning. So instead of fine tuning it to a certain data set, you introduced prompts. So in prompts, you could add examples about what your task is about, and then based on patterns, it was able to predict what the output would be without any uh, data set that you have to provide for the training. So that's how these models are very generalized and are capable to perform multiple tasks in different domains. So you define a prompt and then you give it an example, and the outcomes are usually based on how the model was trained on which type of data. So if you know that GPT has been trained on World Wide Web, so the entire internet, whatever the text corpus is present over there, it has been trained on those patterns. And thus, whenever you type something, you almost get the most accurate predicted responses that what might the next thing be to that question. So that's how these models are working right now. So coming to prompt engineering, I can divide it into three levels. The first level is just by giving the instruction, uh, just typing the text that what you want to do in the chatbot or the API, and just asking it to give the output. That's the level one of prompting. Level two would be also using external data sources which might not be available for our LLMs. For example, if you are working for some hospital and they have certain kind of healthcare data which is not publicly accessible, so in that case, our large language model would not produce responses which are factually correct. So to get that factually correct information, they would need to have some kind of input through which it can search and produce those responses which are very specific to that hospital. So that's like level two of prompt engineering with retrieval augmented generation. The document part that I just gave you example about, that is RAGs. If you have heard about it, I think it's a pretty trendy term right now. So what you do in that basically is that you provide your input documents and then you query on top of it so that it can provide a natural response which has answers related to that document. So it's like a chatbot to the PDF, and then you get certain responses based on the content of that PDF or any source document that you're providing. So that's like level two. Level three is designing agents. And when I say agents, is like completely automating the task. You have designed a certain prompt which you assign to the agent. So that's like performing a task like sending an email. You are just giving the inputs like I want an email drafted for this job application, and for that you have these certain uh, web pages for these portals. You provide those links, and then the agent goes and fetches the job web page for you, and from there you can autofill it. So all those are like agentic tasks. Those can also be automated using LLMs, and that's like level three of prompt engineering, along with agents. So these are like three layers of prompt engineering, how you can just keep on increasing the level of complexity and get the best kind of outputs from there. Anyone have questions till right now? What I'm talking about? Sure, Shaktiman. Yeah.
So, you talk about context in prompt.
I
So,
can't
does
hear
it
you,
fall under
Shaktiman.
level two or level?
Can you repeat the question? The context, which level it falls in? Is that your question?
I was asking about the context injection prompting. So does it fall under level 2 or level 1?
Level one would be basic prompting, in which you're not using any external resources. And these levels I have defined on my experience. These are not like a standard set of levels that we have. But in the basic, you're not using any external source. You're just providing a simple sample set. Yeah, Satvinder, we can repeat level three as well. So in level one, you're just like a normal, you go to the ChatGPT UI or any Gemini UI, you're just giving your input text. That's like level one of prompting. You're just getting an output response from that. When you are providing the context, like you are providing external sources of PDF, CSV files, or something like that, from where you need the analysis and get a generated answer with the sources. So that's like level two. And third is agentic way. In agentic way, you're designing certain prompts for agents to follow that behavior. So if I'm designing an email agent that will basically do my sales advertisement, so I can give it a list of emails that I have, I want to do sales reach out to. So I'll write a prompt which will extract these emails and then use a tool which is sending these email to the multiple users. So that's like level three. Keep in mind these levels are just differentiated on basis of level of complexity. These are not standard set of differentiation. So uh, yeah, Sukanya. Okay, we'll continue. So in the last 2 years, I've been working at Deloitte, and we have been building many uh, SaaS applications, so software as a service. So in that, how the whole pipeline works is, first you get a problem statement that you want to solve from the client. The user describes the problem. That's the step one. The second is we design a prompt very specific to the task that user has asked us to perform. So for example, if I have some banking data and I have to get some key insights from the banking data, like generating business glossaries, business definition for certain physical tables of bank related stuff, for which we just have the records and all. So for that, I can design a certain prompt which says that this is my data. Can you generate definitions for columns inside this table, which was not present, so that user is able to understand the data better? That's the second step. We build the prompt. Third would be just sending the whole prompt along with the data that we have received from the client. So using the combination of both, we send it to the LLM, and on top of that, you can either do a RAG so that you get specific answers from within that document, or just use it as a supplement context within inside the prompt, so that it can just reference to the text inside that prompt and give you an output from it. Once you get that output, so you can parse it. So when I say parse, it's like getting the output in a certain structure from where you can extract details from. We will see a parsing example in our hands-on. So you will understand better how we can use parsing in real world applications. And the final would be whatever the parsed output response is, there will be key value pairs. And using those key values, we just fetch those results and display it on our UI. So that's like the whole pipeline of building a GenAI application, uh, how we do it at our workplace. Do you have any questions here? Or would you like to know more about a certain thing that we do and do while building these applications? Yeah, sure, Aryan, I can repeat. So I've broken down this into 5 steps. The first step would be that you get a certain problem from someone. That problem can be anything. They might want you to uh, create some insights on the data that they're providing. So that's like my target task. So using that target task, I start to design my prompt. So how we design a prompt, I'll show you the strategies and techniques in hands-on. So that's like the step two. The app builds the prompt. Third is the LLM generates the chat completion. In that, I'm passing whatever my prompt is, as well as the data that has been provided by my client to get a richer and more accurate response based on the data that they have given me. Without that data, the responses will be very generic, and we can't actually get a accurate response from just providing a simple prompt. So that won't work. That's step three. Step four is once you get the output from the LLM, you want it in a certain uh, data structure form. So that you can easily extract all the values from there, and those values can be displayed on the UI. That's your step five. This is not how LLM works. This is how LLM applications are designed. How LLM works is what I discussed previously when I talked about the transformers, encoder and decoder structures. And ChatGPT, what I told about that was it's only a decoder only model. So you will have to learn more about attention mechanism, uh, for which I can provide you the resources. So you can understand that how the LLM works behind the scene. This is how we build application in the industry. Those are the steps how I build a Gen AI application based on a client problem statement. Are we clear, Aryan and Sukanya? Uh, okay, we can move ahead. So coming to the core crux part of our prompting techniques. So I'll be discussing some advanced prompting techniques as well as today. So we first of all we have chain of thought. So does anyone have an idea about chain of thought, what it might be? I mean, it's on the screen, but has anyone heard about it before? Yes, Satvinder, you can speak. You're on mute though. Okay. No. So what chain of thought is basically when you're asking an LLM to perform a certain task, you are also asking it to provide step by step how it is thinking before providing a response. So that's where the name of this method comes from. It's called chain of thought. So we'll be seeing an example, what exactly the task is and what the chain of task does over there. That's for chain of thought. And the second technique that we will be exploring would be tree of thoughts. So if you understood chain of thought, tree of thoughts is in a similar way. Uh, we are asking it to focus on multiple approaches. So if you know tree has roots, so it goes like to multiple. It goes in multiple ways. So you can have for solving one problem, you can have multiple methods. So you can list down those methods within your prompt so that it can try out each of the method before generating the final output, and it also validates like which one is the best method out of all the multiple methods that you're mentioning inside the prompt. So this is like a multiple approach within the same task to perform the same task. So that's the tree of thought version. And then we have something called meta prompting. So meta prompting is basically when so meta prompting can be it has a like very vague and ambiguous definition. So basically, when you don't know how to write a prompt, you can actually go and ask ChatGPT itself by just giving a short description about what task you want to do, and can it generate prompt for it. That's one way of doing it, and the other way is asking it to think about the task and then uh, trying to make a plan about how it wants to perform the whole thing and assess it before providing the output response. So basically, you can combine all these techniques or use it in a separate way so to provide a better output response. Uh, Deepinder, coming to your question, is it possible to get chain of thought before AI generates its output, as AI has some free tokens provided? So yeah, we would be seeing a certain example in which it will also generate the output in which we can see the chain of thoughts before arriving at the actual output. So it will list down all the steps that it has gone through to provide that response. So we'll be performing that certain example as well. So if we just got the idea about what these prompting techniques are, we'll again discuss it in the hands-on so that you're much clear what's happening behind the scene. If you're good to go, that was the presentation, and now we will dive into the hands-on stuff. So I want everyone to have this notebook open. Once they have this notebook open, you can see there are two links over here. I want everyone to open the second console link. Once you open the console link, you would have to basically log into your account, Google account, which I'm considering everyone has it. I'm showing you the steps, just follow them and let me know if it's not working for you. I'll share you the API key as well. So it's a free API key. It won't charge you anything. So if you can see this page, this Google Console page, this is where for your account, all the APIs and other services that Google Cloud Platform provides, it will be presented on this website. So we are going to use Gemini API. So for that, these steps are to be followed. So if everyone can open this page, I want them to go to enabled API and services and click on this plus enable API and services. Here, search for Gemini API.
Raj, थोड़ा slow चलो.
ठीक है sir. I'll go back again so that everyone can do it with us. So we are on this Google Console page. And from here, I want you to click on this enabled API and services. Once you click here, you have this plus button, enable API and services. If you're on this page and you're with me, just type yes. Okay, Rohan, no worries. Is anyone else facing the same issue? Rohan, you can use my API key. It is attached in the notebook. I mean, everyone can use it, but it's just that if a lot of people are making requests at the same time, it won't give you a response. You go to this GitHub page and you will find this link, Google Colab Notebook. This GitHub page link I have already provided you. And once you go in Google Colab, I want you to create a copy for yourself. To create a copy for yourself, you have to click on File and you have to click on Save a Copy in Drive so that it opens a copied version of this exact same notebook for yourself. So if I click on Save Copy in Drive, it's saving a copy and it will open a new notebook for your account. Is everyone on this page? I would need a response to move forward, guys. Okay. So in the search, you can look for Gemini API. Once you search it, you can see this result, Gemini API. You can click on it, and for me, it is enabled. For you, you can see an enable button. Just click on enable. If you can do that, just type yes in the chat. I see two yes. I'm considering everyone else is also following along. So once you have enabled this, we can go back uh, to our API services. So you can go to credentials, go back to this page, everyone. Click on credentials, click on create credentials, and click on API key. So everyone should have at least one API key before enabling that. I think Shivam, you're facing that issue. That's why. Yeah, sure. If anyone is finding this difficult, you can use this key. I'll show you where to store it in just a moment. But it would be great if you can learn how to actually create a credential and use it for your own use case. Okay, so to create a project, you can create a new project from this top button. If you can see right next to Google Cloud, not showing my link. Mehak. If you can't see this page, it means you don't have a project. For that, you have to click on top and select a new project. And from there, you can select, like, create a new project. And once you create it, you can add a key in that project. So if you're not able to follow as well, I already have a key set up in the notebook. You still will be able to follow along. It's just that you might hit multiple requests error. So for that not to happen, I was trying for everyone to have a single key of themselves. If someone is able to get their key, just type yes in the chat. Before doing all this, I had tried it on a new account as well. I followed the same steps that I'm suggesting you. I was able to generate a key. So I'm expecting that you all are also able to do it. Dipinder Singh, can you tell me exactly what's the problem? Can you see this key in your credential section that you just generated? For you, there is no such section. Interesting. Fine, you can use my key, Dipinder, if anyone is also facing the same issue. Okay, all right. You can all use the key in the notebook. After the session gets over, you can use my key. But till then, you can just follow along. Everyone else who has the key can go ahead. I'll also share a YouTube video how to create a key after the session. You can follow along. Just so that we have time constraints, we can go ahead with the notebook that we have. So here, I want you to, I hope everyone knows how to run a collab notebook. If not, just type in the chat. I can just tell you about what a collab notebook is. Just give me 1 second. Hello. Sorry for the interruption, guys. Can you repeat what we have to after clicking enable? Yeah, so after clicking enable, I want you to come on this page, the page, the link that I pasted earlier in the chat. Go to this page. If you don't have a project, you'll have to create a project, but I don't think so. If are you able to enable the API, Rohan? Okay. So if you don't have a project, I want you to create a new project with any random name. Just create it and select it so that you have a project on top of this. And then I think you should be able to see the credential section. And from there, you can create your own credentials using this API key option in plus credentials. If not, just follow along what I'm going to do here. So I hope everyone is on this page. Okay, Rohan is able to do it. So anyone who was able to generate the key, you can see this key symbol on left of your collab. You can click here and then basically add a new secret and gives this name as Google API key. I've already added in the notebook. Everyone might be able to see this already attached to the notebook. If not, I'll just paste this key again so that you can use it. This is a different key from my another account that I had tested this whole process on. You can use this key or the key that I have given you before this. Both of them work. Okay, so you're installing all the essential libraries for Google Generative AI. You won't most probably need it because you're inside the collab environment, but still install it. The second step would load your key from the left-hand side. The third step, I've created a generic function which takes prompt as an input, and I've given a default model name. We are going to use Gemini 2.5 Flash for our whole prompting tasks. So I've also given a doc string which explain what this function does. So it's just taking the model name and the contents as the prompt that we will be providing. And output is a list of strings. So I'm joining that string and producing a combined output from it. So this is like a boilerplate code for getting a response from the Gemini model. Okay, so we'll be discussing three cases, uh, like different set of prompts for, and each case will have some context, a use case that you might come across in your everyday life, across your career. So we'll be going through them and seeing how the prompts are improvised step by step. So case one is your technical writing. So there will be many instances where you might have to, you're writing the code, but you're not writing what the code is doing. So what I mean by that is I could have just given you this get response function without this doc string, and then you would have to figure out what this function is actually doing. If you're smart enough, you can, but if there is someone new coming in, they will want to understand what exactly this function is trying to do. So it is generating a response from a Gemini model for a given text prompt and whatever their input arguments are there and what it returns. So this is like a good definition of the function for the code. So you can come across this while you are working at your company, you're writing your own code and you want the LLM model to produce this doc string for you. So I am taking a simple example over here. So if you see, like, this is a Python code and this is like a uh, calculate factorial function code. And I want, you can see that there is no explanation for what this is doing. So if you want to run the model on top of it, this is my prompt. What I'm asking the prompt to do is uh, just give me the documentation of what this code is. So when I run it, so this is what I'm getting. Okay. So this is like a huge explanation about what the prompt is. And if you're able to run this, just type yes in the chat so that I know that everyone is trying. You're not able to run it, just please. Can you paste the error in the chat? Okay, meanwhile, she's pasting the error. We'll see what the good prompt is. Okay. Is anyone else getting the same? error issue. Are you using my keys, Jaspreet? You're using your own key. Did you follow the steps that I asked you to follow, enabling the Gemini API? Okay. Uh, we can connect post this call so that I can clear a response. Okay, Sukanya. So anyone who is facing the same issue, uh, after this session, they can stay back and I will clear your doubts by sharing the screen. We can see what's happening. Okay. So if you see the difference between this prompt, it's a simple prompt where we are just asking it to provide documentation. In the good prompt, what we are saying, we are being specific in what the documentation should be. So it should be a Python doc string following the function. And inside the doc string, I'm asking it to explain what the function does, what its parameters are, and what it returns. And I'm again providing the same function. So when you're providing this and trying to run, so this is like a good prompt. So this will give you a much concise way of the same thing. Before, it did not have any set of certain instructions that it had to follow. So that's like a very basic prompt. Here, you're asking it to provide a Python doc string, but it was intelligently able to understand that it has to provide what it has to provide. Here, you're specifically asking to produce a doc string, and it provides a concise output with the definition, arguments, returns, error values, and examples. So this is a very simple function. That's why the output is not that drastically different. But if you're giving some complex kind of function, the subtle differences in the prompt, like how you want the documentation to be like for the function, can make a really good difference. So that's the difference between the okay prompt and the good prompt. So how would the best prompt be? So in the best prompt, we always define a role first. So what role does is basically we are kind of asking the system to behave in a certain way. So I'm asking it to act as a senior Python developer. So based on the best practices of writing the documentation, I want it to generate a Google style doc string. That's like a standard practice in the software industry for generating the Python function below. And I'm providing it a certain set of instructions that it has to follow. A one-line summary, a detailed description, arguments, returns, raises an example for the same thing. So if I run this, I'll get the response. You might not see that drastic difference because the function is very small. But if you are putting a large code file and if you are trying to do for that, you will find a lot of differences between these three prompts. Anyone has doubts in the first use case that we are trying to run? And also, if someone is able to run on their own in their own notebooks, just let me know in the chat. Also, I want everyone to open this page. I've added the prompt examples. It's like a web page that I again built it using prompts on Claude. So this is a publicly accessible web page. This I have not coded. This is created by GenAI completely. So this is the case one that we are following right now. there are different prompts, and you can just copy those prompts and just paste it in the prompt section wherever you want. Also, I have listed the improvements, what the transition means here from an okay prompt to a good prompt to the best prompt, what differences are there. And the outputs are in the code file itself. If we are clear with case one of technical writing, which you might use while documenting your code, uh, just type yes in the chat. Anyone who is following along, like I need some active responses. Okay, thanks Sukhman. Thanks Deep. Okay. Anyone has a doubt in case one, like why we are using it and what makes the differences between the variations of prompt? You can speak up. Okay, let me ask you a question so that you guys are also participating. Why do you think that the best prompt can work better than the other prompts in which we are not providing much context? Just give me 1 second, guys. I got a few responses over here. As you provide set of instructions to it, it works according to those instructions. Yeah, that is one of the key observations here. We are giving detailed explanation of what steps to perform. Prapreet, I think you're talking about chain of thought, which we haven't explored yet. Uh, I haven't provided set of steps yet, how to perform the task. That we will be doing in a later use case when we come to the chain of thought section. And best prompt describes the requirements in details. Okay. So yeah, that is like the core crux of writing good prompts. You can't just ask it to perform a task. You have to assign it a role, and then you have to tell what the task is about, and then you have to provide instructions on what the task needs to be done, like how it is to perform that task, and then finally you get the output in like three separate variations. Okay, if we okay, it gives clarity of the task. That as well. The more you describe the task, the better it is. And the more edge cases that you also add it in the task, that will also improve the prompt. So in case two, this is also something that you'll come across every day at your workplace. It's called meeting minutes. So basically, you have a conversation happening in the whole meeting, And then you want to get the key details about what happened in the meeting. So I've just provided a whole conversation. It's like the transcript between two people. They're talking about some project, and I've just so normally what you would say is that summarize what happened in the whole meeting. Okay, so when I'm doing that, it is giving me output like the meeting for Project Atlas was held to plan the launch of new analytic dashboard by the end of quarter 3. Key discussion points were mobile responsiveness, data sources, and action items for Tom, Sarah, and Alexa. These. So, do you think this has a scope of improvement? It can be improved further, or I do think there is a scope of improvement on how this output response is arranged. You can make it a much crisp response. This is a good response, but you can also improve it further. So I'm providing certain subtle differences in the prompt, like I'm asking it key points and decisions that were made from the following transcript. So it breaks it down further. The output gets split into further parts, and then it's segregated in much better way from the previous response, if you see. So it tells me what was the whole meeting about, and then what the key points and decision were. And inside also the key points and decision, it has broken down into subtopics, what those items were, and then for action items for each person, what the things were assigned. But still, I feel there is a scope of improvement on top of that. So the best practice always is to assign a role and then giving it the task and providing it certain set of instructions. So that's what I will do in my best prompt. So in my best prompt, I'm asking it to be an expert project manager assistant, and the uh, the assistant has to analyze the whole conversation, and then it has to be cleanly organized in these 4 things. These are the 4 things that I feel are essential that needs to be analyzed from the whole meeting. So whatever has happened in the meeting. So I'm pasting the transcript as well. So this is the context, and then I'm asking it to provide an output. So this is how it provides the output. So if you see, it has the meeting objective, it has the key decisions in a concise way, and then it has action items with task description, owner, and when the due date is to complete that task. So it's like end of this week, Friday, tomorrow, ASAP. Now, these details were missed out in the previous things. So uh, if you're reading it, you might miss it out as it is written in a sentence. So now it's also producing a table, which is like a much easier way of understanding what happened in the meeting. So that's like increasing the level of clarity which happened from the start, which was just summarizing what happened in the meeting, to a detailed overview in a simpler way. So if you're in your office meetings and if you get the transcript from the Zoom meeting calls or team meetings calls, you can use the prompt. Even if you have not attended the meeting, you can get what happened in the meeting. So all the teams, Microsoft Teams has already an agent built for this. It is called the Copilot Teams, which also does the same thing, by the way. This is like a miniature version of that. It will take the whole transcript and provide you the key points, whatever happened in the whole meeting. So that is like the second use case of prompt engineering that you might come across in your everyday life. Anyone having doubts in this second use case that we have? I will take that as a no. Okay. So now you have seen that this is like a paragraph type of response with some table in between, which is not like a structured output. So when we are working in an industry level setting, we want it to generate output in a certain form so that we are able to extract all these items. So this is a string right now. So I can't actually get what tasks it did, what was the owner name, what was the due date, and all that information from that. So for this use case, I'm creating class. So in this class, I'm basically providing the structure how output should be generated. So in this, I'm providing the elements that I want in my output. What was the objective, decisions, action items, and what action items has is tasks, owner, and due date, and whatever the blockers were, I have added an additional. So this is like a pydantic class. So pydantic class defines a structure for an output, and for that output, you have to pass this additional config in your client models.generate content method. So previously we were just passing these two parameters to our get response function, but now I have to add this additional part which takes this case to output class as an input, and it produces an structured output like this. So this is a JSON with multiple keys that I had defined. So it has the objective, decision, action items, and blockers. Objective, decision, action items, with each action item as a list of these three items: tasks, owner, and due date. So if you see here in action items, I have tasks, owner, and due date. So if you see, this is a much more developer friendly output that you can use. And this is like a dictionary. So just take the key and get the value from there, which was harder when it was just a simple response that we were getting from the model. So you guys understand the structured outputs part, what we're trying to do over here. This will be very useful for you guys because mostly getting the response from like extracting details from this is a harder way. You might have to use regex to extract those strings, but getting a structured response makes it way easier. And this class, you will have to design it yourself based on the prompt that you're providing, what you're expecting from it. So from here, I was able to decide, like, I need an objective, I need a decision, I need action items, and if there are any blockers, I need that as well. So from there, I can create this class, or you can ask the ChatGPT to create a class for you that you can use, and then you can pass that class over here, which produces this JSON-like object. Okay, that's the second use case. Anyone having doubts in the second use case? If no, we can proceed further. Okay, great. Is everyone following along or no? What's the I need some participation in the chat as well, guys. Only Satwinder is and Deep is and Smriti are participating. Okay, Satwinder is following along. That's great. It's nice to see some participation. Deep is following as well. Smriti is following as well. That's great. Okay, so we'll move on to case three. Okay, Aryan is following as well. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. It means a lot. So for case three, this is also something that you might come across in your everyday lives. So I'm just giving a sample generated example here. So basically, you are a job seeker and you want to apply for a job, and you have the job descriptions of those jobs, and you have your own resume. So now you want to craft a cold email to a certain HR or a certain contact person that you know from that company. So to do that, uh, I want you to basically like go to this page and look at these prompts, writing a cold email for job description. So if you see the normal prompt, uh, it's just write a cold email, and this is my job description, and this is the resume of the person. So here you can actually put your own resume in text format, and put a target job description for yourself. And then you might try to run this own output use case. So I want you to do this as part of your homework. Try to run it for okay, good, and best prompt. I'll just show you the differences. In the good prompt, I'm describing the tone of the message, how the tone of the email should be. Like send a professional cold email, uh, and it's a bit more descriptive than the previous one. And it should also highlight how the person's skills match to the job description. So that's like being more specific about what you want from the email. That's the good prompt. And the best prompt is again following the same practice. You have a role, you have a task goal, and then you have instructions in which you are providing a detailed overview of what to do. And then you have the context. What is the role about and what is your resume? So that you can add using this context. You can see the differences, and I've noted down the observations. You can go through them as well. So this section I've left empty so that you can do this task yourself and see the differences and get a hands-on on how these prompts work and how these behave when you keep on adding details in a certain fashion. Okay, this was like the whole basic prompting thing, which is really good if you have come till this point that can actually produce a really good output. Uh, so now we'll just see how we can tweak those existing prompts to the advanced prompting techniques that I mentioned earlier. So first technique that I told you was chain of thought. So in chain of thought, I'm adding this extra section inside my instructions. So these are set of questions that it has to think about before producing the response. So think step by step, understand the logic and the purpose of it. And these are my questions like what the function does. So this is for my case one in which I wanted to write the documentation. So in that, I'm asking it to think what the function does, describe its primary purpose, how it works, and what are the errors and constraints that are present, identify any exceptions or edge cases, what an example usage would look like. So this is like the steps it can follow. How is it different from just giving what it has to give the output? Is that uh, this is providing a sequential step in which it can understand what the code is about. And from that, using that as a reference, it can generate these inside the doc string, one line summary, detailed description, arguments, returns, raises an example. So this adds a layer on top of it, like a chain of thought on top of your existing prompt. And I have asked it to print the chain of thought and then the output doc string. So in chain of thought, it's able to tell what it is doing. So what the function does is it is calculating the factorial, computes the factorial of the whole thing, and it has given you what the function is actually doing. How it is working, it has also given you a response about that. Like it is validating the input, it has a base case, it has a recursive step, and what errors does it have, like basically error handling techniques inside the code if it has any, so that it is describing. And it has also given example, what an example code would look like for calling that function. So this was like its whole understanding based on step 1, 2, and 3, 4. The questions that we asked, it has produced the output for it. And based on this, it is able to generate you the documentation, the complete documentation. And using this chain of thought, you can also validate if it is actually thinking like a human or not. If it's not, you might have to tweak it a bit and provide uh, certain steps that you as a human are thinking while writing the documentation or performing any task. So you just add that as a chain of thought that it has to be careful about this before actually producing a response. That will improvise your prompt further. Anyone having doubts in chain of thought? If not, we can move to tree of thoughts. Okay, I see no's over here. All right, we'll move ahead to tree of thoughts. So in this, I'm taking the case two. In case two, if you remember, we were trying to extract what was happening in the meeting and uh, basically getting a overall overview of what happened in the meeting in a structured form, whatever was happening throughout the meeting. Like this is a meeting happening, I'm having the conversation. If another person is also speaking, we might have the whole transcript, and I need a summary for it. So for that, I can use this tree of thought strategy as well. So in this, I have this extra additional section. So basically, I'm creating multiple branches of thoughts. First branch, it has to identify. So first branch of thinking would be like identify the meeting objectives. You can further give it like another approach. Like if you just want it, branch one to be the summary of the whole meeting, you can just give that as branch one. In branch two, you can actually give like word to word meeting analysis, something like that. And in branch three, you can also ask it as a mix of summary plus your word to word kind of uh, combination. So what it does is like it will go through each branch and then produce an accumulated output from the all the branches that it has observed and produce the output from. So I'm just giving it a final thing, and also I'm also providing a certain format for it to follow. So you can also provide this. So this is another way of getting a structured output. So I'm asking it to generate a markdown. Instead of creating a class like we were doing it earlier, you can also give it in this triple quotes plus what language you want it in. And then you can use these greater than, lesser than signs to fill the data inside it. So I'm using this pattern, how I want my output. And here also, I'm asking it to first print how my model is thinking using tree of thoughts method, and then getting the markdown for it, this kind of output. So for that, I get a detailed understanding how my tree of thoughts is working. So it's analyzing the relevant parts. It also shows what parts it is from the transcript, and then it is also evaluating what this branch is about. And after comparing every branch, it is able to generate this output as the response for the whole thing. So this is like the output structure that I had mentioned earlier. Meeting objective, then one concise sentence for the purpose of the meeting, one concise sentence for the purpose of the meeting. Key decisions, I had key decisions like what was the finalized decisions, and then I have action items tables with the action item table, and then you have open questions and blockers. So using these different branch of thoughts, it was able to produce this response. So that's another variation of prompting. Anyone having doubts in tree of thoughts? How you can provide multiple approaches? Chain of thoughts is like sequence of tasks that it has to perform. Tree of thoughts is like multiple approaches that the model can think about. That's the key difference between chain of thought prompting and tree of thought prompting. If you have no doubts about these two, we can just go to the meta prompting version of the case three that we had, cold emailing for the resume. Okay, so in meta prompting, I've provided the role, and then I've provided what my context is and what my task was. But the additional things that I'm providing is basically the meta thinking part. So in this, I'm asking it to think about the prompt itself. So reflect on the task before actually performing the task. So it's like asking questions to itself about what the task is. So for this resume writing task, these questions might be like, who is the audience? Who is my hiring manager? Who is the most value suitable candidate for this role? And how the targeted email should be. Like, is it in a particular industry or a sector? So those are like different strategies that you might know about the. So it's like reflecting on the prompt before it generates the output. So for that, you can actually give certain reflections that it can think about before actually producing the response. So how the style should be, what keywords or buzzwords you don't want to use while writing that email that you can specify over here. So after all that, I'm also asking it to write an email based on my meta prompting strategy. That was my step one. And in step two, I'm getting my email with like subject line, opening hook, paragraph one, and then closing to just confirm a meeting if they have any available time slots. So in meta thinking, I just get like, so if you remember, I had provided two things in the context. One was the job description. So from here, it was able to extract what the audience is and what the strategy should be. And the keywords from this as well as this, like social media, Instagram, plus here multi-lead campaigns, these keywords are getting mapped in this. And then persuasion goals would be anything that is related to marketing or social media marketing. Similarly, for you guys, it would be tech related stuff on your technical resumes that you can use for a technical recruiter. So you can take that whole job description, paste it here, play around with the prompt, and as well as give your resume, paste your resume, and see how it is able to write a cold email for that particular job description, or even for a research position. If you might see, if you know about the research, just provide a research context instead of job description, and then provide your resume. So once you do that, you get the meta thinking part. I'm just printing it so that you understand how the meta thinking is working behind this prompt, and how it is able to generate the final email. So this has the whole email. It's not like a generic email. It is very specific to how you want it to be designed for a certain job description. Any doubts in meta prompting? So just for a refresher recap, chain of thought was sequence of steps, tree of thought was multiple branches of approaches, and meta prompting is reflection before performing the action. Okay, I see no response. Okay, sure. So I've got a fun project for you guys. Yeah, so it's basically we have a task in our head and we want the AI to perform that task. We're just guiding it to do it in a better way. That's the crux of prompt engineering. You won't get the exact response until you're providing granular details about your task. So yeah, so I have added a mini hands-on project section that you can try out in the notebook. Uh, in this, I'll tell you what is happening. I've added a boilerplate code which you can use, and I want you to go through it as well. What it does is that it can take any of your GitHub repositories. So, for example, this is my actual project. This is a website scraper for CNN news channel that I had built, and it has like a decent documentation, but it has no how to use it or how to run this. So this is like a very bare minimum documentation kind of stuff. So there is where a library comes in picture. It's called mkdocs in Python. So that creates a beautiful website for you. So I've kept these sections empty so that you can add your own prompts. What this will do, the above code will do, is that it will fetch all your code files and then it will build a text string which can be used as the context for the prompt. So you can add your prompt and then there are your repo details, whatever files there are and whatever code is present in it. So using that, I want you to design a prompt which gets information about the whole project, what it does, what is it about, and I want you to explore mkdocs library, which actually creates beautiful web pages for your uh, GitHub repositories. I'll show you this thing that I've done for my repository, CNN Scraper. So basically, this was the output response that I was getting from the prompt that I had earlier. I've removed my prompt, but for that output response was this. It was getting me a structure, how it should be, and all. And then I have created a structured response because I was not able to get the details from this response. So I created a structured response in which uh, I also added additional instructions that it has to follow for mkdocs library. And I gave the whole information as the output. So this is like the whole summary of what my project was. And then I am asking it to generate it in mkdocs style format. So once you are able to do that, you can actually this will create all those files for your mkdocs, extract all the content from your responses, and you can download it locally, the zip file. So once you download the zip file, you can get a zip like cnn scraper.zip. You can extract it. So this is like the folder, and you can just go to this folder. Within that folder, you will have to type a command after installing these packages. These are the packages. So just create a virtual environment and install these packages. You have to just type mkdocs.serve in your terminal. And I'm showing you the final output. So just by fetching my GitHub repo and its details, I was able to create a documentation website. This is how my documentation website looks like. Okay. So it has this home section, which is a much neater and cleaner representation. Yeah, I'll repeat, Deep. Just look at the output, what it is. Like basically, we are able to create a whole documentation web page in which it has description about the document, how to use it, and there are some empty pages as well because I have not tuned my prompt for certain keys that are present inside this mkdocs library. So you can play around with this code as well. I've dropped my uh, oh, so this is my actual repository, the one for which I'm generating that website for. And in this code, you'll have, okay, I'm going to repeat it again. So just have a look at it. So the final output of the project would be something like this for a code repository that I showed you earlier. You can try it with your own repositories. I want you to try it with your own repositories. So the first boilerplate code downloads your code and then generates the text, whatever is present across all the files. Like it has the code, it has the multiple file names and all, what the file is, what the content is within that file. And using that content, you have to write your own prompt and ask it to basically explain what the code is about, what is the usage, how you use it, uh, how you install the packages and all. So that you can all get using these prompts. Once you get the prompt output, so you might get something like this. So this is not, you can't extract content from here because this is not in a structured output format. So for that, you can actually create classes like I taught you earlier to create classes and get extracted values from it. So I'm running the second loop for that, in which I'm also mentioning to follow certain practices that mkdocs library follows so that it does not generate some random code files for mkdocs. And this will generate me a JSON response, which has key value pairs. And again, I have a boilerplate code which extract those key values and write it in the mkdocs file path. So this will create this folder docs with all these files. And this is completely GenAI generated output that it is able to write it in this section. So you will see the output, it is extracted and written into these files in this folder. And then you can just type mkdocs build and then mkdocs serve. That is like the final. You download this and you can paste. I mean, you can directly download my folder to test it, but you have to install these libraries and type these two commands after that, mkdocs build and mkdocs serve. That will give you a beautiful web page for your project. You have to keep improving on prompt. This does not have much. It was a not a descriptive prompt. I just added something for usage and something for how to install it. You can add if there are any API endpoints in yours, and you can also add project structure. So for each of these, you can have something like a key in your structured output. So you can have a key in your structured output and get the values from there and write it in a file. So once you write it in a file, you will be able to generate a website like that. And also, if you're interested in deploying, I have added a simple 10-minute deployment video, the same web page. If you want to deploy and share it on your GitHub repository, you can do that so that people are able to use your repository in a much aesthetic way. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I also want you to explore few shot prompting, which I have not covered. That's a very easy thing. I mean, you give some few examples about the tasks you want to perform so that it can use those tasks and uh, imitate the exact same behavior while performing the tasks. Yep. Yeah, that was it from my side as part of the hands-on and explanation on what different types of prompting strategies are and how you can use it to improve your tasks that you come across in your everyday lives. If you have any queries, you can feel free to add in chat.
Thanks, Raj. Thank you for the informative session. So guys, if you have any question, query, you may ask or you may write in the chat. And you can connect with the Raj also through LinkedIn. If anybody interested, I can give his personal number also. So Raj, a few questions. Let's suppose you want to hire some people in your team. So what
Yeah.
are the skill set you required in new fresher?
So what I have been seeing these days is everyone should be familiar with these API models. I am from the Gen AI team, so we mostly work around these LLM models that include Anthropic Cloud, Gemini, OpenAI. So these are the most prominent models that I use across work every day. So if you know how to use them, just like I told right now, these are like the bare minimum foundations that you require for GenAI. How to get structured outputs, how to design pipelines around it, how to solve a problem statement from the start to the end with multiple layers in it. So that's that thought process. If you can build it in a project and showcase it, that would be a good indicator. And the second would be SQL as well. I don't want you to neglect SQL. SQL is something that's used very frequently if you're working in the data domain. So you should know basic to medium level SQL, not the advanced window functions or something like that. Every day, which you can use. And this SQL will be used across multiple services, uh, across platforms like Databricks, Snowflake, AWS. So these are some of the multiple platforms that I work across. And these services require SQL knowledge when you're trying to run some code across the data warehouses present inside these services. Data warehouse is a confusing term for you, so I won't dive deep into that. So bare minimum would be your Python coding skills, your understanding and practical usage of these Gen AI models, and along with that, SQL is important.
Good, Raj. So could you suggest some project titles? Because many students approach me and they ask, sir, please suggest some projects. So please suggest some projects so that student can easily do that and it adds some weightage to their CV.
Okay, so uh, they can try something like a retrieval augmented generation chatbot. So in which basically you are designing a web app in which you are taking the API keys from the user and then also providing a document that the user wants to upload, and you are able to chat and interact with that document. Uh, So uh, in that, you can keep on enhancing the project because a document can be large. You might run into token limit issues. How to fix that? If you can explain that thought process, then people will be very impressed about that project. If you are introducing some token handling mechanism within that project, and also if you are able to do something within the data engineering pipeline, if you could work with some cloud platforms in which basically you are able to set up a database, you are able to upload some data sets to that database, and you have a working code in your local machine which is able to fetch the data from the cloud repository, the cloud database, and you are manipulating the data, cleaning the data, transforming the data, and then loading it to another database, which might be in another service provider. So that's like a proper data engineering pipeline, a simple version of it, which will let the interviewer know that you are aware about the whole process, extracting, transforming, and loading. So a ETL project would be nice under your belt. A GenAI project that I told you earlier, it can be RAG-based chatbot or anything in which you are using GenAI-based methods. You can also explore asynchronous API calling for GenAI. So what that does is that sometimes you give a prompt that is so long that it takes a lot of time to think and to generate response. So meanwhile, if you want to make multiple requests, so you can explore asynchronous calls and also implement it in your GenAI project. So that will be a really good indicator that you're also thinking about scalability of the projects. So that are few of the ideas that I have on top of the mind, which I found very impressive while taking interviews these days about in the GenAI space. So if you're aware about these concepts and some data engineering methods, I think you're good while explaining the whole story around it.
Okay, Raj. So thank you for the nice session. So last quick, any query, question you may ask, or else we're going to wind up the session. No? Okay, done. Okay, Raj, thank you. Thank you very
Welcome,
much.
sir.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, chaliye.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
Raj. Thank you. Yaar.
Thank you. Everyone take care, and you can reach out to me. And also, you can see the GitHub for the other projects if you want to check out them as well. You have the GitHub page link, and give a star to the repository if you liked it. Yeah. Have a nice day, all. Thank you.